Hi, it's Andy XL of NFXL podcast, back with part two of my NFL Week 6 preview. Now, I'm filming this just before, let's work it out, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, the 10th of October. Sorry, 11th of October. So, bear that in mind when you're thinking of injury updates and things like that, because, things can change between now and the kickoff. Um, so, in part one, I covered the Thursday night game and the Sunday matinee from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Now I'm going to look at the rest of the game, starting with the Sunday early window. 6 games in this window between teams that have decent or better records so far and teams who have ground to make up, and for whom a loss here would further dent their hopes of postseason football. And one game between two teams who have suffered week 5 losses, but with a win here could put themselves back into postseason qualification spots. So let's get to it. The Arizona Cardinals at the Indianapolis Colts. The way the Cardinals threw away a big lead against the Titans in week 5 was just ridiculous. And that loss drops them to the back of the pack in both their division and the wild card race. The Colts, however, have absolutely had their way with the Raiders in moving to 4-1 and to the top of the AFC conference standings. Now, Daniel Jones has rightly received plenty of credit for his and the Colts' performances so far this season, but it is the rush for and against that has been their real strength. Excuse me. The Cardinals' passing game has been really poor, but they've been decent against the run, and they will need to be good against the run here to prevent Jonathan Taylor having another big game for the Colts. As I say every week regarding regarding the Cardinals, getting pressures on Kyler Murray really affected his performance. And the Colts D has already piled up 14 sacks and 27 quarterback hits in their first 5 games. So there's going to be plenty of pressure coming the way of whoever's at quarterback for the Cardinals here. And I say that because they could, if it's Murray, they will get to Murray if he plays, and he may well be less mobile if he does play because he's coming up, if playing potentially with an injury. And if he does not play, Jacoby Brissett will come in. Either way, the Colts could well limit the Cardinals' offense, especially without James Conner and Trey Benson at running back. I can't see him having too much faith in the Emery DeMarcado after last week, for instance. And I think Jonathan Taylor will put up big numbers again here as the Colts get win number 5 of the season to get them another step closer to the postseason and to put the Cardinals another step away from making it that far. So I'm going for the Colts to win this at home by 27-20. Next up, the LA Chargers at the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Chargers have lost their last 2 and need to get a win here to prevent their good start to the season from disappearing completely. The Dolphins have just one win and have lost their prize asset in Tyreek Hill for the season. But with the NFC wildcard not being as competitive as the NFC one is, a win here would keep the Dolphins in that race. Another loss, however, would leave them gasping for breath at the tail end of the pack. Um, the Chargers are strong against the pass, but not so good against the run. So for the Dolphins to win this one, their ground game will need to be decisive for them. Problem is, the Dolphins have not been good in that area. Indeed, they are ranked near bottom of the league for pass and run defense and offense. Um, Tight ends have fared well against the Dolphins this season. Tyler Warren, Dalton Kincaid, and Mason Taylor being amongst those to have benefited from that matchup so far. Maybe another rookie tight end in the form of Aronde Gadsden could be worth and one of the speculative looks in fantasy terms for this game if you're struggling at tight end. Kimani Vidal could be another to look at if Amari Hampton is out. The Chargers' battered O-line are likely to struggle to keep Bradley Chubb and Co out though. So Justin Herbert could be in for another rough day. So I'm actually going to take the Dolphins to get the win here. It's just that O-line that I really think the Chargers are struggling badly in that area. So with the Dolphins being at home, I'm going to take them to pull off a win they badly need here by 23 points to 20. Right, New England Patriots at New Orleans Saints. Here is another matchup between a team needing a win and being in desperate need of a win. The Pats need this to build on that fine win in Buffalo and boost their divisional and wildcard hopes. The Saints badly need a consecutive win to keep in touch in any sort in the NFC wildcard race. Offensively, the Pats have been good at moving the ball downfield via the pass, then getting scores via the running game. Defensively, they've been good against the run, but have not been good against the pass. The Saints have not been strong in any area, really. But I still think their defence is a capable one on its day. Excuse me. And given the Patriots' weaker side is against the pass, can Spencer Rattler, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed and co get them the points that are required to win this one? With the Pats banged up on defence, particularly in their secondary, the Saints' passing game could do well here. Another big question for the Saints, though, is can they keep the Patriots out on the ground and limit them to field goals instead of TDs? So red zone efficiency for the Pats is going to be really important here. And the good news for the Saints is they've only conceded 2 touchdowns to running back this season. So in 2 regards, this could be a good matchup for the Saints. And I think they can pull off a surprise win here. If they do, then Spencer Rattler could be a good fantasy pick in week 6. For the Patriots, Hunter Henry could join Trey McBride, Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson as tight ends who have had good games against the Saints this season. But as I say, I think the Saints can pull off a surprise win here and take it by 24 points to 20. Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh Steelers. The AFC North has been blown wide open by the numerous injuries that the Ravens have incurred and the loss of Joe Burrow for the Bengals. The Steelers have taken advantage to move to the top of the division and now face a Browns team that are 1-4. But 2 of those losses were by a combined 5 points, including going down to a last-minute touchdown from the Vikings in London last week. So the gap between these teams at the top and bottom in this division may not be as big as it appears. The Steelers' defense is mid-ranked in the league. Their pass offense has been their offensive strength when it comes to getting in the end zone. For the Browns, they have had a fine defense, although they have conceded a lot of passing TDs, which fits what the Steelers have been good at. Their offense has been one of the least effective in the league, though having not scored more than 17 points in any of their 5 games this season. So for the Browns to pull off the upset here, they have to stop Aaron Rodgers finding his receivers in the end zone, as they are unlikely to reach 20 points themselves. And I don't think they will. It is wide receivers that have been the ones that generally benefit against the Browns, so DK Metcalf is the fantasy pick here, as the Steelers win this one by 23-17. The Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers next. Cowboys have 2.5 wins. And, with the Eagles losing on Thursday night now, their chances in this division are improving greatly. The Panthers have 2 wins, both coming to week 6. Both teams go into week 6 off a win last week. Whoever wins this one is right back in the thick of their wildcard race. And like I say, the Cowboys will be right back in their divisional race. Whoever loses it will fall towards the back of that wildcard race. And the Cowboys will fail to take advantage of a door opening at by the Eagles. The Cowboys have been an explosive and an offensive powerhouse, I should say, this season, but the defense has been almost non-existent. The Panthers' defense is actually ranked in the top half of the league against both the pass and the rush, so it might even be better than that, considering they, generally are put under a lot of pressure by the offense not performing, because the offense is ranked in the bottom half, but not towards the very bottom. So the Panthers might be better than they're actually being given credit for. So there is some hope for the unheralded Panthers that they can win this one. Quarterbacks and wide receivers have had a party against the Cowboys this season. Malik Nabers and Wan'Dale Robinson combined for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in week 2. Luther Burden had 100 yards and a touchdown in week 3. Romeo Dobbs had 3 touchdowns against them in week 4. And Garrett Wilson had 71 yards and a touchdown last week. So it really is party time for the wide receivers when you come up against Dallas. So Ted McMillan and Xavier Legette could be the next to benefit from playing the Cowboys. And it could be a good week to pick Bryce Young in fantasy too. Carolina have been friendly to opposing tight ends and to a lesser extent running backs. So Jake Ferguson and Javonte Williams may carry the load for the Cowboys in what has the look of another Cowboys shootout. Turnovers could be pivotal here. Bryce Young has turned the ball over 7 times, 4 interceptions and 3 fumbles. Dak Prescott has thrown 3 picks and had 1 fumble, with the running backs having a couple of fumbles too. So that advantage in turnovers and having Brandon Aubrey to kick field goals might just give the Cowboys the edge here. So I'm going to go for the Cowboys to win by 30 points to 27. Moving on, Seattle Seahawks at Jacksonville Jags. The 4-1 Jags come into this one on the back of their best win of the season against the Chiefs in Week 5. That win has them in the tie for the divisional lead and looking good in the wild card race as well. The Seahawks played well but lost to the Bucks last season, so need a win here to keep close. Well, they played well offensively, so need a win to keep close in the NFC West and to avoid losing ground in the wild card race. The Jags have been okay in terms of pass offense and defense, but it's on the ground that they're really strong on both sides of the ball. The Seahawks have also been strong against the run, so will the Jags be able to run the ball in this game? Has to be a big factor in deciding who wins it. Seattle's offense has been above average for pass and rush, but they have not been great against the pass. So it could be a case of who will get the most joy passing the ball, which is another key to who takes the win here. The Jags have multiple receiving options available to Trevor Lawrence. Sam Darnold is not short of options either, but Jackson Smith and Jigba has done most of the heavy carrying in this area for the Seahawks. And the Seahawks are going to be depleted in their secondary, as they could well be without a combination of Julian Love, Devon Witherspoon, and Reek Woolen for this game. They have the more balanced offense though and home advantage, so I will take them to edge this one. That's the Jags, and with the Seahawks depleted secondary as well. So I'm going to take the Jags to win this one. Tight ends have done well against Seattle. Now I would have said Brenton Strange, but he's gone on IR. So if you're in need at tight end, another speculative one to look at might be Hunter Long. It might be worth a punt and could do well. Like I say, the Seahawks have not been good against opposing tight ends this season. George Kittle and Jake Tongs both scored for the 49ers in week 1 against them, and opposing tight ends have had more than 50 yards in every game against the Seahawks this season. But the Jags to win this one, but it'll be close. 27 to 24 is my prediction. Los Angeles Rams at Baltimore Ravens. Both teams suffered losses in Week 5. The Rams was a narrow but damaging one in the NFC West, as they lost to the 49ers. The injury-ravaged Ravens got proverbially taken behind the bike shed by the Texans. The Rams are now 3-2 and need the win to keep the pressure on the 49ers in their division. The Ravens are now 1-4 and need to go 8-4 and possibly 9-3 from this point to make the postseason. That puts it in perspective how big a hill they've got to climb. So this is one they badly need to win to get back on track. The Rams have a top 12 defense, one of the very best passing attacks in the league, and a mid-ranked rushing offense. So they have all the parts required, not only to make the postseason, but to be a tough out for any team they face when they get there. The Ravens are in dire need of some good news in terms of getting injured players back for this one, and that starts with Lamar Jackson, but he will not make it back for this game. Bitter a pill as it is to swallow for the Ravens, it may be best for them that they haven't risked him here, letting him recover during the bye week that follows this game, and then try to get the 8 or 9 wins they need from their last 11 games. And that will certainly be a plan if they do not get any of Carl Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, Chidobe Awuzu, or Roquan Smith back for this game on the defensive side of things, and that's looking pretty bleak, that picture at the moment. So with their injury season situation not easing itself much at all, the Rams will surely follow the Texans' example by winning this one with room to spare. Matt Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams could all benefit fantasy-wise this week as the Rams coast to a 31-17 win against the depleted Ravens. So that's the early slot done. Bit of coffee. I'll tell you what, I'm going to call it that, and I'm going to do a third part because I think it's just easier to break it down time-wise. I think I'm going to be struggling to squeeze the other remainder of the games in. So let's call that part 2 done and dusted. Part 3, I'll come back at the late games and the Monday games. All right, see you soon.